We're solving puzzles to help Frodo on his adventures across Middle-earth.
What do we think of the Lord of the Rings themed exit game Shadows over Middle-earth? We've been lucky enough to get our hands on a copy of the exit game Shadows over Middle-earth as I'm working for Cosmos UK. This will be a no spoiler review, so don't panic if you haven't played it yet. It does play like many of the other exit games, but how exactly is that?
Well, so Exit the game Lord of the Rings Shadows over Middle-earth is going to be familiar if you've ever played any of these exit games before. There's more than a dozen different games in the series that are celebrated for their kind of imaginative and inventive approach to offering an escape room style experience in a box. Although each game in the series has different themes and puzzles, there are similarities across the games as a whole. Each exit game comes with a deck of 3 cards. There's the red riddle cards with the letters on the backs, the numbered blue answer cards, and there's a stack of help cards. In the box there's also going to be a quick start instructions, a riddle book and a decoder disc. Like other exit games, Lord of the Rings also includes a load of these strange items, which initially seem really random, but their use becomes kind of obvious as you progress through the adventure. Normally the goal of these exit games is to escape from a room, but in this Lord of the Rings version, you'll be solving puzzles and riddles to help Frodo get the One Ring of Power to Mount Doom and destroy it. It's a story that's loosely based on the J.R.R. Tolkien Lord of the Rings novels, or you might know that from the films. Along the edge of this decoder disc are symbols which represent different riddles you need to complete to finish the game. The puzzle solutions will give you 3 numbers that you dial into this decoder disc below the relevant symbol for the puzzle you're trying to solve. Once this is done, a number's going to appear on the viewing window on the smallest disc. And this is going to tell you which blue numbered answer card you're now allowed to look at. If you got the solution wrong, the card's going to tell you you're wrong. But if you're right, you'll be instructed on how to progress through your adventure, which red card you're going to pick up next, or which page to flick to in the riddle book. You're then going to have some story text to read, which is going to talk about the adventure you're going on, and you're then going to be told which new cards to draw for the next riddle in the adventure. Play is going to continue this way until 10 riddles have been cracked, and you reach the end game answer card, which will describe the adventure's conclusion. Much like a legacy game, you are going to be marking the cards and damaging the components as you play this, but we really think that's all part of the fun. And for such a small price of admission, it's going to be worth it just for that single playthrough.
So we're now going to talk about our playthrough. Obviously we have said it is going to be spoiler free, so we're not going to go into details of specific elements to solve any of the riddles or anything. So don't worry if you haven't played it yet, we're not going to ruin anything for you. We're just going to talk about how we enjoyed our experience and things. So we're going to start off with the idea of the theme and how we felt that integrated with the Lord of the Rings, which we did actually really enjoy, didn't we?
Yeah, I mean, we were introduced to the Unlock series of games because there was a Star Wars one that came out and that introduced us to those series. And I think the same thing is going to happen with this. I mean, Lord of the Rings is familiar to everyone, either because of the really successful series of books or the phenomenally successful series of films. So I don't think there's going to be many people who doesn't know who Lord of the Rings is or isn't going to be attracted to it because of Lord of the Rings. And that being said, it isn't just Lord of the Rings slapped onto an exit game. The riddles themselves feel integrated and intertwined with what Lord of the Rings is.
There's a lot of characters that are familiar, there's locations and things, so I think if you are a fan of that franchise, you aren't going to feel disappointed that it's sort of what you knew before, but they just put the pictures differently or something. It does sort of engage you with those characters, with the different locations and things like that. So I think it does integrate that theme and feeling like you're in that whole world of Middle-earth quite well.
Yeah, I think the moments you expect to see in this game, you're going to see. The characters you expect to be there are in there. All the riddles are being set by Gandalf, and you know, just by reading the back of the box, that Frodo is on an adventure to destroy the One Ring. We know that. It's those moments that are integrated, though, with the puzzles and the way they gel together is really impressive. I mean, there's certain characters you meet, and the puzzles seem really fitting for them. And there's some bits you're constructing things similar to how they are constructed in the film. Treading very carefully so I don't spoil anything here. And all of that makes sense. Isn't just like they once created an adventure game and they thought, well, wouldn't it be great if we get Lord of the Rings and just called it that? No, it is a Lord of the Rings adventure that largely follows the series of books.
Yeah, and I think this one's steps apart from some of the others slightly because it has that narrative thread throughout it, whereas some of the others you'll be in one location and then you're just dealing with the puzzle after puzzle to sort of, you know, in typical escape room style, try and sort of escape the specific space, be it a cabin, a tomb, or whatever forest that you're trying to get out of. Whereas this one does take you on a journey as you would be in the films, which is interesting.
It's nice to have that little moments, those respites of character development or of adventure, where you get just cards detailing what is now going on in the story, which is something we haven't seen in the exit games we've so far played. It's always been a case of, you're now locked in a room, get out of it. But this one, it does feel like a nice adventure story that you're going on. That being said, you do feel very similar, like you're recreating those escape rooms that you have in real life. It still maintains that kind of key selling point of these series. You have all those emotions that you normally feel when we've been to those things.
Yeah. I mean, obviously the eureka moments of like, oh, I've got it, I know the answer, are amazing. And that frustration points of like, why am I not seeing this immediately? And then that, oh, how did I not see that immediately? All those emotions come through in these games, and that's what makes them so much fun to play.
Yeah, I mean, if you're playing with friends or with your partner, be prepared to have your relationship tested as you rack your brains collectively, either getting frustrated together that you can't solve this straight away. But that is all the beauty of these games.
We obviously played it as a 2, but you know, as you're playing in a group, everyone sees something quite differently and are sort of better suited for certain types of riddles than others. I mean, I tend to be, in between the two of us, much better at the sort of the spatial, the placement, those kind of ones, and you are sort of slightly more on the sort of wordy front and things. So in actual fact, our favourite riddle was one that sort of combined both of our skills, and we were really sort of putting both our brains to test to be able to get through that one together, and that because of that, probably it became our favourite one of them. And there are some that you're sort of looking at, scratching your head, and I'm like, yep, hit, done. And vice versa.
I know, in this game, what's great about the Exit series is because they've been going for a while now, they've really honed their craft. They've really got to know interesting, clever ways of manipulating what's in the box, maybe the box itself, just to get you thinking outside the box, to get you thinking different approaches to solving what's initially seemed quite simple. And of the 10 puzzles in here, I would say there was only 2 that really that didn't come naturally to us, that we had to start using the clues for. We didn't rush through the game. We took our time playing. I think it took us just over 2 hours to do it. But there's only 2 puzzles where we were completely stumped and didn't quite know what to do. And then with the help cards, it gives you that kind of nudge in the right direction. And then we progressed really quickly through it.
Yeah, and we sort of realised, oh, we were meant to be looking at it this way and we were looking at it that way. And so we had the right idea. We just had gone off on a bit of the wrong tangent, if you know what I mean, without giving anything away. So we were kind of there. We just had to sort of come back into line, which is good that they have the solution cards there and the little clue cards that just, you know, you just need a little nudge sometimes. And it's like, oh, sometimes you'll read them and it's like, no, I've got that bit, that's fine. And then luckily there's another one and you can be, oh, right, that word, it should have seen that.
It's all a case of kicking yourself when you go, of course, that word is bolded for a reason. That's not just a random coincidence. That is the key to solving this puzzle. And it's just brilliant when you get those moments, when you think, it's come together. I think the 10 puzzles in this game are diverse. There's no case of you do one thing and then a bit later on you do the same thing but slightly different. They're all completely different. And yes, I think there was only one of the 10 where we nailed it super quickly. All the others took their time to solve, and it's a fun process. It's just good.
It really is.
As it slots together in your mind and piece it together.
And I was actually worried because we'd done some of the expert ones before, and I was thinking, I really love this theme, but this is sort of a slightly lower on the skill level that they rate that at. So I was thinking, is it not going to be taxing? Are we going to fly through it and then it's not going to be as fun? Although we like the sort of theme and engagement, is it going to just be a bit like, done that. But this wasn't. I was really surprised that you still had to, get your brain into gear and change that logical thinking and think outside the box or change things up a bit, reread through stuff to be like, oh, yeah, in order to do it. So I was pleasantly surprised with that.
I thought it would be a case of, because it's a accessible, family-friendly theme, it's going to be dialed back slightly so everyone can enjoy it and get through it quite quickly. I thought we'd nail it super fast, and that didn't happen. I would say it was much. We've played the Pharaoh's Tomb as well, which is I think a much harder. That's more towards the expert scale. I don't think there's a big gulf between the two. That was certainly harder, but I don't think massively harder.
Yeah, but again, I'm not saying that I don't think it's accessible for children. I think it is. You'll all look at things and think about things in different ways. Different people can read different things, and there's lots of things to engage with and look at and things. So I thoroughly think that if you've got children that are interested in the theme of Lord of the Rings, then they're going to absolutely love joining you on this adventure.
I think people are cautious of games like this because of the only being able to play it once thing. And I really wish people weren't, because a trip to cinema to go and see a Lord of the Rings film would cost probably twice as much as it costs to play this. And it's obviously passive. You're sitting there absorbing the film. With this, you're all together collectively immersed in a thing. And while, yes, you obviously can only play it once, I think that experience is worth the price.
Yeah, I mean, in the same way as going to a sort of a live escape room, you'd all go there and experience that once you've done those riddles, you know the answers, you're not going to go back and pay for that experience again. I don't think that this is particularly any different to that, just you're able to do it in your own home, and some of the things are maybe slightly less physical than they might be in the live one, but I mean, there are certainly some puzzles that are in these games that you might find in those kind of things also. I thoroughly think that it is worth.
Yeah, it's a little over
money.
£15. I think this one's slightly more expensive because of the cost of getting the Lord of the Rings branding on it. But that's going to attract it to so many more people. And I think it's really going to be a springboard into doing other escape games, other exit games, because once you get the mechanics, it doesn't seem so alien. You can then go for other themes you like or other style of, approaches, and each one does feel different. I mean, we've played quite a few of these and we've never had the same puzzle.
No, and I feel like these, I mean, we haven't played the entire range as yet, but I feel like each one, the riddles are different, but they also have like a different riddle, a sort of special riddle almost, and that is always different, it seems, and making you really kind of stretch your old brain a little bit there, and that's quite exciting, of like, what are they going to do this time? Yeah,
there's always a kind of headline one that when you talk to people about the experience of playing it, you go, oh, in that one, that's the one you do that, isn't it? There's always one of those, and I think there's actually a couple of puzzles like that in this one, where you go, oh, that's a really cool one where you do this or that. I'm not saying what you do, but I guarantee after you've played it, there's going to be puzzles that stand out in your mind that you really particularly enjoy, and that you tell people as soon as they've played it, go, wasn't that puzzle great? Wasn't that a good one?
Yeah, so basically we had a great time playing this. And we think that for people that have already played quite a few of the range of the exits, you're still going to have a wonderful time, particularly if you like the theme of Lord of the Rings. It's really great, it's really engaging. It does have some different elements in terms of the journey and things like that that brings some more story into it than you might be used to. So it is a bit refreshing because of that. And if you haven't played the exit games before, what a great place to start.
Absolutely. It's going to be appealing to so many people, and I guarantee it's going to springboard you into trying other ones. But if you haven't played any of these exit games, what tips do we have that's going to allow you to be, less scratching of the brain when you're playing your first game?
So obviously you open up the box, there's a lot of things that say stop. Do stop. Don't spoil the riddles before you've even started. Make sure you lay things out with the instructions. There is an instruction booklet in there that lets you know what you can lay out when, what sort of special items are accessible to you at what point. you know, even turning of the book, you're only allowed to do that when it tells you to do that. So don't just browse through the booklet and see things that you're not meant to see just yet. So you've got to do it in the logical order that it's set out in, and follow the instructions as they go.
There's a really good setup guide that's tailored to each game. So read through that and do as it says. And take your time playing it. I mean, it's a fun experience, and the puzzles, yes, are taxing at times. But really, you're robbing yourself if you then quickly go, there's a load of stuff here, I don't know what to do with it. What's the hint say? Have a think. Have a discussion. Because then the reward is so much greater.
Yeah, and there is a tendency to sort of, this kind of game, be like, oh, we've got to get it done as quick as possible. Oh my gosh, yes. And then you miss things. But yeah, your score is on how quickly you do it at the end. But, you know, unlike some of the other games, it isn't a case of you pass or fail at a certain time point. So this is a one-off experience. Enjoy it.
Yeah, to make the most of your one playthrough. And to be honest, if you're not happy with your final score, just add an extra star on it. No one's going to know. Don't rob yourself the fun of it just because you want to say to your friends, I've got 6 stars for this one. No. And I have a big tendency to go, this is tricky, let's read a clue. And you do rein me in on that.
I need to solve it myself. I don't need any help. I must solve it myself. So between the two of us, we get a mid-range. But I mean, if you need a clue, take it. And particularly if you've sort of gotten to a certain point in one of them, even just taking the first one, it's likely just to confirm that you're on the right path, and then you can keep looking, and you haven't actually then used that clue because it hasn't told you any new information.
But the rules are quite specific about that. If you're not getting any help from the help, you don't need to count it as a negative towards your overall score. It's if it helps you advance. It states that explicitly in the rules.
But sometimes it is nice just to get that confirmation. Yes, we're on the right path. Yes, we're doing the right thing.
Because we've had occasions where we were on the cusp of an answer and we just needed to pay attention to one small thing and we would have got it. Yeah, use the help. Don't get frustrated. Spending an hour on one puzzle.
But not too quickly.
Pace yourself, but not too.
But use it.
Make sure you're doing it properly. That's the thing. We've had on this one a bit point where we got stuck because I'd entered it wrong on the dial.
We were being ridiculous.
Yeah, each puzzle's got its own icon. Pay attention to which one you're doing. It's not the same as the one you've just done. So when you're dialing it into the dial, make sure you're doing that one. Because you can make people very angry if you enter the wrong code and you got the puzzle right.
Yep. Why was I not doing the decoder is what I'm saying. we would have been half an hour quicker.
And finally, if you do find you're getting stuck, take a step back. Think about what it's actually answering you, because it's not just random. All the writing in it is incredibly cleverly written.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If something says look behind, think about what that might mean. If someone says open something, think about what you could possibly open, both within the narrative and both physically on the table itself. It's incredibly well done, and it's carefully crafted. They've done dozens of these, so they know what they're doing. If something's bold, it's bold for a reason, so pay attention to those. Look for the finer details.
So if you've enjoyed this chat about the exit game Shadows over Middle-earth, we hope that you could maybe like the video and perhaps even subscribe to our channel. That would be fantastic.
Yeah, add a comment if you've played an exit game before. What's your favourite and what one do you think we should play next? And also if you played a Lord of the Rings game, which ones are really good for you and which do you enjoy the most? But thank you so much for watching, and hope this hasn't been a big riddle for you.
Till next time.